What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Dylan Talks Tone. Today we got something kind of cool. This is the Strat that you saw in a video a couple of weeks ago that we built in conjunction with Texas Toast Guitars. However, you'll notice that it looks a little bit different because we did some things to it today. We're going to rewind back in time and I'm going to show you what I did. The whole idea of getting this guitar before it went to Tony, the eventual client who is ending up with this guitar later this week, is that he's a big Stevie Ray fan. And so he wanted this guitar to be heavily inspired by Stevie Ray Vaughan. And so we did some stuff to it today that goes just beyond the normal cosmetics here that I think you'll dig. Cool guitar, huh? Yeah, that's what I thought. So this is a really interesting guitar. Swamp Ash body. This is a black Kingwood fretboard. We should say we're not trying to do some sort of Stevie Ray clone here, but just heavily inspired by. Over the last few years, I've gotten a chance to work with some folks who work directly with Stevie Ray Vaughan, including his guitar tech, and he showed me some stuff, and I got to see pickups. And there's some kind of goofy things that he did to keep his guitars quiet. And so we're going to do one of those things to this guitar today to kind of just make it special and unique. And you'll obviously get to hear these pickups that are not currently on the website. By the time you see this video, they will be on the website. These are very heavily inspired by Stevie Ray Vaughan's own pickups that I was actually able to hold in my hand and measure and then hear and the whole deal. So it's kind of cool. Yeah. So for those of you that want to jump in the comments and say I'm wrong, or, you know, I heard such and this and that and you're wrong because some guy in some forum told me whatever. Well, I had personal conversations with Stevie's guitar tech and he showed me some things and I got to physically hold in my hands. In fact, I have in there in the office some things that I know firsthand, not second or third, or from some forum on the internet. Now, that being said, what's interesting about Stevie Ray Vaughan's setup is that it changed all the time. One of the things that Renee told me was that, you know, if he spilled beer or some other substance on his guitar and all of a sudden the pickup didn't work, they'd just go to the local pawn shop or whatever and get something used and they would chuck it in there. But there was a few things that always kind of stayed the same. And so a couple of those things we're going to work into this build today. So yeah, this is a super cool thing. And if you want this sound, you will be able to get it by the time this video goes on the interwebs. So let's jump into what we're going to do, and then we'll hear it, and then we'll talk about why. All right, so like we mentioned, this is not a direct kind of spec to his guitar, but it is a Swamp Ash body. These pickups I wound for this build. It's all Callahan hardware. Now, obviously, we're not doing gold hardware. We're not doing the upside down tremolo. We're not doing any of that kind of stuff. We're just making this guitar kind of, you know, strongly inspired by, if you will. It's got a black Kingwood fretboard because the owner, Tony, really wanted a dark colored fretboard. We've got the small peg head there. Yeah, this thing's going to be super cool. Now, one of the number one things let's talk about is his pickups largely. Now, this changed a lot, but in his number one, they largely stayed very similar in the fact that this was a very low output set. So we had 5 point, and I measured them myself, 5.7, 5.7, and then like 5.5 to 5.4 in the bridge pickup, which is really kind of backwards from what a lot of people think and do. So that's the way these pickups are wound. Let me get the strings off, let me get the pickguard out of the guitar, and then we will talk again. All right, so what we've got is we've got this vintage wind on these pickups that we talked about earlier. We've got a one of our orange drop, or one of our paper and oil caps that we sell here. This is all my wiring, etc. You can actually buy, well, not this particular loaded pickguard, but you can buy one. You can buy loaded pickguards from us at Dylan Talks Tone, but we're going to actually, at the end of today, we're going to make this particular one available, because we've never actually made this particular setup available before. So it's going to be kind of cool. So the first thing we need to do is get the pickups out of the pickguard, and we need to shield them. Okay, so we've got one of the pickups out here. That looks like it's the bridge pickup. So one of the things we need to do in order to shield this is, and I'm going to actually, when we do these loaded pickguards, we're going to construct the pickups this way, so we're not going to have to mod them, but we're going to have to pull out the black wire here. Okay, and we're going to have to very carefully desolder the negative side. And we're actually going to replace that black wire, because I need to make it a little bit longer. Because what we're going to do is we're actually going to pull this through a little bit. So like about like that. And I'm going to put it through the bottom. Probably, I don't know if this is something you need to want to be doing to your own pickups, because you can damage them pretty easy. Alright, so that's going to stick up through there like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use that once we shield the outside of the coil. So now I'm going to go get some copper shielding, and I'm going to cut a strip of it, and I'm going to wrap it around the outside of the coil. Okay. So now that that is completed, we will then very carefully drop some solder on there and solder that ground, because no shield works unless it is properly grounded. So we'll go ahead and do this real careful, because we don't want to overheat anything. That should be good. And that just solders that ground to there. So that's one done. We'll have to do all three. It's interesting because people think that, for example, the Texas Special, which is a very hot Strat pickup, was Stevie Ray's sound, but that's actually a myth. Those, he never actually had those in his guitar. They were eventually at some point maybe in possibility going to be a signature pickup of his, but they're not based at all on what was in his own guitar. So these very low output and actually kind of backwards pickups were what was in his guitar, with the lowest output being at the bridge. And that was actually very common in the late 50s and early 60s. I've got a friend, Jimmy, who has a 57 Strat that is the same way, where it's wound a little lighter in the bridge, which is sort of weird, but that's what they were. And then adding that shielding around the coil to quiet it in some circumstances. Now, if you heard noise in these playing samples, it's possible. You know, just because you shield something doesn't mean all the sound goes away, or, you know, all the noise goes away. What it does is it minimizes it in certain situations depending on what those situations are. So, you know, we've got a big light right here that's probably throwing a lot of noise. We've got who knows what, you know, there's a microwave right there. There's who knows what. It's just kind of part of life. So noise is a thing, and you're never really going to be able to get rid of all of it. So the thing is about all this noise and stuff is that it's situational, you know, when it comes to how noisy the environment is, what lights are around, the other parts of your rig, like that sort of stuff, all matters. And so just because you may have heard some noise here on one or more of the pickups, that doesn't mean that just because we did this, it all went away. And it's the same in your situation too. So don't stress about that too much. It's just a thing that he did to kind of minimize it, to make it less. What are the downsides of doing something like this, where we're putting foil around the pickups? When you wrap copper foil all around pickups and then you ground it, there's a possibility, depending on the situation, depending on the voicing of the pickups, that you could steal high frequencies from them when you have that copper right around the outside of the pickup. I didn't notice it so much in this guitar, but on his guitar specifically, it was real bad. Like, when you play Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitars, or well, at least number one anyway, it's like the tones rolled down. The way he got around that is he just played super hard. And so, you know, are you going to sound like him because you did this stuff? No, but it's just really neat, right? And so just doing these things is just fun. It's just a cool, neat mod. Is there any real benefit to it? I don't know. If it was my guitar, I wouldn't go to the trouble of grounding the coils and stuff like we did in this video. Now, I would use the pickups because the pickups are fantastic. I don't know that I would go to the extra work of grounding the pickups like that, you know, with the shielding tape and stuff. But that's neither here nor there. This guitar sounds fantastic, and it plays fantastic. It is fantastic. If you want one of these, they're about $2,500 by the time you do all the stuff and get it where it's supposed to go and all that kind of stuff. So they're a little spendy, but they're very cool. And this is honestly one of the best Strats I've played in a long time. And I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of being a part of it. And I'm really proud of the results. And I am really proud of what we are about to send on to Tony. If you want the pickups that are in this guitar, we will wind you some just like this. These are the only staggered pull piece guitar pickups that we make. They will work the way we've done them with more modern fretboard radiuses. Like this is a 10 actually in this guitar. And so it works just fine. This is the only set that we do this with. So these are very unique, and this is a new set for us. Well, it's not new. I've been making them for a long time for limited things, but to make it available to the public, this is the first time. So super cool. Check it out in the link in the description. I think you'll dig it. And thanks for hanging out and sharing this little delve into Stevie Ray Vaughan history with me. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next video.